Greetings, and welcome to installing Odoo 11 on Amazon AWS. In this video, we're going to show you how to install Odoo 11 on an Amazon AWS EC2 Ubuntu server. And we're going to show you how to do that on the free tier so you can practice and not have to spend any money if you just use that free tier to create your instance. Make sure you understand the process, then you can just terminate it and it won't cost you anything because you're using the free tier. So we're going to jump right in and get started. The first thing you have to do is you have to go to aws.amazon.com and sign up for a free account. And after you do that, you're going to be able to log in and you're going to want to go to the EC2 services. So once you've created your account and you're logged in, you're going to go to EC2 just like this. And here you're going to get the option to launch an instance. And so you can see like up here, there's 5 currently running instances in my account and 15 volumes. And to create a new instance, you just come down here and click Launch Instance. And we're going to scroll down a little bit here and choose the Ubuntu Server 16.04 LTS, and notice it says it's free tier eligible. Now you can install Odoo on other versions of Linux as well. It has just been since the very beginning that Ubuntu has kind of been the preferred go-to, and there's just a lot more guides and a lot more people that know how to manage Ubuntu instances of Odoo. So we're going to stick with that, and we're going to pick this 64-bit tier. So we click Select, and you'll see that it automatically defaults here to the free tier eligible T2 micro, and it's just going to give us 1 GB of memory and 1 CPU. Now this is probably not going to be adequate for a lot of production installations, but for the purposes of an installation video and for you to practice setting up an Odoo installation, this is absolutely perfect. So we don't even really have to go to these instant details. There's nothing we need to change. The one thing that I will show you, you won't want to change anything here, but like this add storage, you can change this, and you'll notice that the free tier is eligible for up to 30 gigs. So if you're going to use this, and you'll have to look at what the specifics are for the free tier. I believe it's still a year that it's free for your first one at least. But this lets you go up to 30 gigs if you need it. Now I'm not going to do that. There's just no need when we're just going to use this for an example installation. So we're going to go ahead and review and launch our instance. And so here's our review just to make sure we got everything right. Ubuntu 16.04 T2 micro, and you can see here just something to keep in mind. It's going to use this launch wizard 17, so we know what security group we need to work with when configuring our ports. Now we just click launch like that, and you'll see that it comes up here and it says select an existing key pair, create a new key pair. Well, you're going to create a new key pair, especially if this is obviously your first key that you've created with Amazon. And here you want to give the key pair a name. So I'm just going to call this Odoo 11 AWS Install, just like that. And click Download Key Pair. And you'll see here in my browser that we've downloaded this. So that's the first step. And we've already, we want to make sure now, I did almost clicked off on that, we want to make sure we click Launch Instance here. So we click Launch Instance. So now AWS is already creating our Ubuntu server and it's launching it. It's going to take it a minute or two, but it'll be done most likely by the time we're done with the next steps here. And the next step here is we're going to use Putty and PuttyGen to create and set up our access and to create a terminal access to our server so we can get to this server. So we're going to begin by going here and go into putty.org like that, and it says, notice here it says you can download Putty, and click here, Now it's going to say up here you probably want one of these. They include all the Putty utilities, and so you can download this installer and it gives you all the Putty utilities. I personally don't do that because the only two we're going to need for our Odoo installation is Putty.exe, so you can click here to download it, and our other one here that we need is PuttyGen right here, PuttyGen.exe. So you're going to click that. So we download our Putty and our PuttyGen, and we're going to start with PuttyGen because PuttyGen is going to let us create a private key from the public key that we just downloaded for our installation, this one right here. So we're going to create a new file that's going to give us a private key to access the server, and we use PuttyGen to do that. So we click PuttyGen, and here we can see generate a public private key pair, and we don't want to I say we see this here, but we don't want to do that. That's something I've made the mistake many times of clicking on that. We want to do a conversions and say import key. So we click import key, and we have to find where we obviously have our key at, and then downloads probably the easiest. So here you can see we have the file that we downloaded that says load private key. We hit open, and it brings our key in up here, and here you have an optional key passphrase that you can put in so that if someone happens to get a hold of this key, they wouldn't be able to use it without also knowing the password. So that's definitely a good best practice with any kind of production or even staging server that has critical data on it that you don't want compromised. On the other hand, remember they would have to get a hold of this key, so keeping this key secure is really your primary way of preventing access to the server. So I will put in a key phrase here, just a test one, so that you can see how that would work. And at this point you come down here and click save private key, and it's going to come up and bring you the same here, and we're going to go and click this and say Odoo 11 AWS install, and we want that PPK extension, Odoo 11 AWS install PPK. So I hit save like that, and we've now saved the file that we need for Putty to use to access our server. So the next step, close this out, open up Putty, and we're going to go ahead and we need to get our host name IP address, so we can come back here to our server, and notice how it says your instances are already launching, and we can come in here and hit I think we can just click on it right here, and this will bring up our instance, and there it is. It's running. Our T2 micro is running. It's already going, and here's our IP address, and they're kind enough to give us a little copy to clipboard here. So we copy to clipboard, and well, we'll run Putty again, and here we're going to paste our IP address that they gave us in here. Port 22 is correct. We're going to be coming in on port 22, and then we come down here to SSH under auth and click auth, and here's our browse, where we can now browse and bring up the PPK file we created. And here it is. We open, and let's come back up here to our session. So I click back on sessions again, and let's give it a name. We'll call it AWS Install Odoo 11, and you're going to click save here, so it'll save it and you'll have it for later. And now we can click open, and you'll get this Putty security alert that says the server's host key is not cached in the registry. And so this is your chance to say, hey, this might be a rogue server. I didn't ask for this. This wasn't what I intended to connect to. But obviously, this is the server we want to connect to. We pasted the IP address in ourselves. So we click yes. And now we can use Ubuntu to log in. And it asks us for our pass key that we put in, and that was test, remember, and we hit enter. And there you go. We have successfully set up a Ubuntu server, and we're ready now to begin our Odoo 11 install.